However, far from being a limitation, this tautological emptiness, I claim, brings us to the core of the Kantian ethical autonomy. It is not possible to derive the concrete norms I have to follow in my specific situation, to derive them from the moral law itself, which means that the subject himself has to assume the responsibility of translating the abstract injunction, do your duty, into a series of concrete obligations. The full acceptance of this paradox compels us to reject any reference to duty as an excuse. You know, as we usually say, I know this is heavy and painful, but what can I do? This is my duty. Here, I think even Hannah Arendt is wrong when she nonetheless claims that when Adolf Eichmann referred to Kantian ethics, when he tried to justify his role in planning and executing the Holocaust, was acting, he claimed, but I only acted as a Kantian. I did my duty, and my duty was to obey Führer's orders and so on. But I think that Kant precisely prohibits this. That is to say, the aim of Kant's emphasis on the subject's moral autonomy is precisely to prevent any such maneuver of putting the blame onto some figure of the big other. What does this mean? The standard motto of ethical rigor is, there is no excuse for not accomplishing one's duty. Although Kant's well-known maxim, du kannst, denn du sollst, you can because you must, seems to offer a new version of this motto, he, I think, implicitly complements it with its much more uncanny inversion. There is no excuse for doing your duty. That is to say, the very reference to duty as the excuse to do your duty should be rejected as hypocritical. Recall the proverbial severe sadistic teacher who subjects his pupils to merciless discipline and torture, and his excuse is, I myself find it hard to beat the poor kids, but what can I do? It's my duty. This is what you are prohibited. You cannot say, I have to do it, but I'm not in it. You get my point. You are not only responsible to do your duty, you are fully responsible also to choose what your duty is. You cannot cover beneath, oh, sorry, that's ethical autonomy. Not only you are free to do or not to do your duty, you are fully responsible. You have to stand behind what your duty is. You cannot say, oh, sorry, I cannot help it. You can't help it. You are fully responsible. The consequences of this, ethical, ontological, and so on, are, I think, tremendous. To cut the long story short and come to the end, the ultimate example of this is kind of indeterministic quantum physics universe. In what sense? Usually Kant is associated with Newtonian physics. People even claim like what Kant elaborated was ethics which should be at the level of modern physics, modern in his time, Newtonian science. I think if we go to the end, it's more. And to what aspect of quantum physics do I refer? To something which is really the most unsettling about it. The so-called principle of uncertainty and its ontological consequences. This principle, as we all know, prohibits us from attaining full knowledge of particles at the quantum level. It's not possible to determine the velocity and the position of a particle. For Einstein, this principle proves that quantum physics does not provide a full description of reality. There must be some unknown features which escape the quantum physics conceptual apparatus. But Heisenberg, Bohr, and others insisted that this incompleteness of our knowledge of quantum reality points towards a strange incompleteness of quantum reality itself. And this is the crucial point, I think. What really is so breathtakingly important and new in quantum physics. This idea that, how should I put it, reality itself is ontologically incomplete. What do I mean by this? Something very strange that I want to explain to you through an example from video games. You know, when you play a video game, how do you create, when you simulate reality on the screen? How do you do it? You do not have to go to the end. You just have to reproduce features which make the image realistic for your or spectator's point of view. Say, when you play a video game, there is a house in the background. You do not have to construct, if you are the programmer, to program the house's entire interior, since you know that the participant will not want to enter the house, or it's not part of the game, or the construction digital of a virtual person can be limited to this person's exterior. No need to bother with inner organs, bones, and so on and so on. It is like this that the universe is structured there. You know how, for example, when you see in the background stars, they remain blurred, not clear. But it's not that if you come closer, you will see them clearly, because there is no program for how stars really look for close. Why? Because it's not part of the game that you can come so close. So what's the idea here? I love this idea developed by some American philosophers. It is that the lesson of quantum physics is that it's exactly the same with our reality. And I love this obscene idea, which is, imagine God as a computer programmer, in the sense of God programmed the reality that we experience of reality. And God was simply a slightly lazy programmer. He went up to the quantum level. Then he underestimated us. He thought, why should I bother with this velocity of atoms? Humans are too stupid to reach further than atomic level, so why should I program it to the end? He simply left it open. Unfortunately, we were a little bit too intelligent. We as it were, we went too far, no? And so you get the point that reality in itself is incomplete. Now I will tell you, but this is a theological perspective. What if that this only holds if you have a creator who created the artificial universe, but reality in itself has to be complete in order simply to exist. You know, you can have incomplete virtual reality, but for that very reason it is only virtual, created by some real-life programmer or whatever. I think that the big challenge for today's materialism is precisely to say, no, we can think reality itself as in itself incomplete, objectively. It's not only it's a fiction which was not written to the end, in the same way as, for example, when a writer in a novel describes a person, he doesn't enumerate all the physical details or whatever. A reality in itself can be incomplete in this way. I think, again, this is the true challenge, which gives us something very interesting, which gives us, I think, one of the clues for, if you noticed it, something very strange that is happening today, where what we usually identify with theology, with materialism, is more and more the domain of spiritualism and theology. In what sense? In the 19th century or earlier, the idea of we are here part of this concrete bodily situation contained in our finite world was the materialist idea, and spiritualists dreamed about eternal life out there and so on. Today, did you notice the nice paradox that it is only the most radical, almost vulgar materialists, like these cyberspace utopian computer programmers, who speak about immortality in the sense of fleeing or escaping the constraints of our finite bodily existence.